Listen closely. Chosen one. For this word comes in a moment when the air itself feels heavy with anticipation. You've been walking through a strange stillness, a season where heaven seemed quiet. Prayers went unanswered and signs felt faint. But something is breaking even now. The silence you've endured was never abandonment. It was divine preparation. And tonight, the heavens whisper this truth with thunder in their tone. The silence is over. God is speaking clearly now. You have felt it, haven't you? The sense that something invisible was shifting just beyond your sight. Dreams have been sharper. The numbers, the signs, the timing, they've all started aligning in ways you can't quite explain. It's as if creation itself has been leaning toward you, waiting for this very moment. You were never forgotten. Heaven was simply waiting for the right frequency, and now you're tuned to hear what once seemed hidden. There were nights when you cried and thought your prayers vanished into the dark. Days when every door felt locked, every voice silent. You wondered, has God left me? Has the promise expired? But those quiet stretches were not punishment. They were divine orchestration. The composer was not absent. He was tuning the instruments. Every unanswered question, every tear that hit the floor, was a note in the symphony now rising around you. And here's what heaven is declaring over you now. This is the season of divine clarity. The confusion that clouded your path is lifting. The fog of uncertainty is breaking apart under the weight of divine light. What once felt tangled and muted is about to become unmistakably clear. God is not whispering anymore, He's amplifying. But before the message unfolds, hear this warning in love. When God breaks His silence, everything changes. Relationships shift. Environments tremble. The old season resists the sound of new instructions. That's why this message isn't for everyone. It's for those who have been refined in the quiet, those who have ears to hear not just words, but truth. You're standing on sacred ground, chosen one. What was once hidden in silence is being revealed in speech. Heaven has waited for this exact moment to release revelation that can't be mistaken, misheard, or ignored. You will recognize His voice not because it's loud, but because it feels like home. Get ready. The silence is over. The voice of God is about to echo in the places you thought He had forgotten. You can feel it now, that stirring in your spirit that tells you this moment isn't ordinary. The atmosphere around you feels charged, alive, almost electric. That's not imagination. That's divine alignment. The stillness you once called silence was actually the pause before revelation. God wasn't far. He was near, closer than breath, listening to every unspoken word within your heart. There are times when heaven speaks not through sound, but through stillness. When God hides His voice, it's not to distance Himself, but to deepen your discernment. He wanted you to learn the difference between noise and guidance, between emotion and direction. He was teaching you how to recognize His tone, so that when He finally spoke again, there would be no confusion. And now, His voice is unmistakable. It doesn't echo from the sky, it rises from within. It's that gentle conviction that refuses to be ignored. That sudden knowing that cuts through anxiety and says, "This is the way, walk in it." It's peace that interrupts chaos, clarity that silences doubt, and direction that feels like destiny unfolding in real time. Understand this. God speaks differently in every season. In the storm, His voice calms the waves. In the wilderness, His whisper sustains the soul. In the valley, His word restores your faith. And right now, He's not calling you to survive anymore. He's calling you to move. The silence broke because you're ready to hear the next command. You've matured in the quiet. You've learned to worship without confirmation, to believe without evidence, to trust without visible progress. That's why this revelation carries weight, because you earned it through endurance. The words coming now are not just information, they're activation. They will awaken dormant gifts, stir forgotten dreams, and realign your path with divine precision. Heaven has been preparing this moment for you long before you asked for it. Every delay, every no, every redirection was part of a higher strategy. You were being positioned, not punished. And as this word unfolds, you'll realize the silence wasn't empty, it was full. Full of answers you couldn't yet interpret, full of wisdom being sown into your spirit in secret. Now, as God speaks, the veil lifts. You'll start to see patterns in the chaos. What once felt like random events will fit together with divine logic. People, places, and moments you didn't understand will reveal their purpose. And in that revelation, peace will settle over you like a warm mantle. This isn't the voice of condemnation. It's the voice of calling. It's not a rebuke, it's a reunion. The Creator is drawing near again, not to remind you of failure, but to reignite your fire. The divine silence has ended because your heart has become a place where His voice can dwell without distortion. So breathe deeply. Let the word reach you beyond your mind, into your soul. You are hearing not just sound, but purpose. Heaven has opened its mouth again, and everything in your life is about to respond. Something sacred is unfolding. You can feel it like the tremor before a great awakening, that subtle shift in your spirit where what was once concealed begins to emerge into light. The heavens are no longer quiet. The words that were forming in divine silence are now being spoken into existence. And the message is this: God is revealing what the silence was preparing. For many, silence felt like distance, but for you, it was design. It was the molding of a vessel that could carry revelation without breaking under its weight. The prophecy now unveiled is not about what you lost, but about what is now being restored, redefined, and released. Heaven declares that this is the hour of clarity, where what was hidden behind fog and confusion will come sharply into focus. In this new season, God's voice won't be subtle. It will be clear, consistent, and cutting through the noise of distraction. You will find yourself in moments where instructions come so swiftly that you'll recognize this could not have been my own thought. Divine strategy is being released. The blueprints of purpose are unfolding in the lives of those who waited faithfully through the silence. Listen, the prophecy is this: the silence was not the end. It was the reset. You were not being abandoned. You were being recalibrated. God was tuning your heart to the frequency of heaven so that you could distinguish His voice from every counterfeit sound. The confusion, the chaos, the countless dead ends, all of it was designed to cleanse your spiritual ears. Now you will not just hear, but know. The divine whisper becomes a trumpet in this hour. Heaven is saying, I am calling my own into alignment. Every misstep, every delay, every closed door has served its sacred function. You were being trained in trust, refined in patience, strengthened in stillness. And now, as the divine silence breaks, a new rhythm is being established in your life. One guided by clear revelation. You will notice the difference. The thoughts that once left you uncertain will now feel divinely ordered. The relationships that drained you will dissolve, making room for divine connections that carry the breath of purpose. Even your environment will start to shift. It will feel as though heaven itself rearranges your surroundings to make space for what's coming. And what is coming is not small. This is not the season of crumbs. This is the season of full tables. The silence was the fast before the feast. The delay was the doorway being fortified. What's about to enter your life requires both strength and discernment, and that's why God kept you still, so you would not build prematurely. Some of you will see dreams begin to manifest suddenly. Others will receive revelation about moves, ministries, or missions you thought were lost. The answers you prayed for months or years ago will suddenly appear not because God just decided, but because you have finally arrived at the appointed hour. This prophecy is not just about hearing, it's about becoming. The same voice that once hovered over the waters in Genesis and spoke creation into being is hovering over your life now. He speaks again, "Let there be." And just as light broke through the void, then clarity will break through your confusion now. But take heed when God speaks. His word always births change. Do not expect everything around you to remain the same. Some structures will fall. Some relationships will shake. But do not fear the shift, it is holy. You cannot stay where silence kept you. You must move where the voice sends you. The silence was the womb. The word is the birth. And what is being birthed through you now will not only alter your life, it will impact others. You were preserved in stillness so that what comes from you would be pure, untainted, and full of truth. The divine speaks through you now. The prophecy is this: God is not only speaking to you, He is speaking through you. His voice will find expression in your words, your actions, and even your presence. When people encounter you, they will sense peace, conviction, and direction, not because of who you are, but because of who speaks through you. The silence has ended. The revelation has begun. Heaven's voice moves through the earth once again, and it begins with you. When heaven breaks its silence, it's never random. Every word carries weight, every pause carries purpose. What's happening in your life right now is not merely coincidence, it's orchestration. This shift you feel in your spirit, this clarity that's beginning to pierce through confusion, is divine alignment taking form. God is not only speaking, He is revealing what the silence meant all along. The silence was never empty. It was sacred ground, a hidden classroom for your soul. It's where you learned to pray without needing proof, where you grew roots instead of wings, where your faith learned to breathe without applause. In that quiet space, the noise of the world was stripped away, until only one frequency remained, the one belonging to the voice of God. That's why now that He speaks, you recognize Him so easily. You've become attuned to His tone, His rhythm, His heartbeat. Understand this: silence is not absence. It's intimacy. Just as a sculptor pauses between strikes to study the form emerging from stone, God pauses in your life to let His design take shape. His silence wasn't rejection, it was attention. It meant He was near, watching carefully, refining deeply. You were being chiseled into the shape of your calling, not discarded. When God speaks again after a season of silence, He doesn't just deliver information, He delivers transformation. His voice reorders chaos, resurrects purpose, and revives identity. The very same voice that said, "Let there be light," now says, "Let there be clarity." And where you once felt lost, light floods in. Where you once wrestled with uncertainty, wisdom rises like dawn. The silence trained your spirit to listen beyond sound. That's why now when He speaks, you can discern His presence, even in subtle ways, a divine nudge, a dream that lingers, a scripture that glows differently when you read it. You are learning what the prophets knew, that the language of God is often hidden in patterns, timing, and stillness. The deeper meaning of this moment is this: God has been shaping your sensitivity. In a world drowning in noise, He needed voices that could discern truth amidst distortion. You were not silenced for punishment. You were silenced for purity. Every false voice was stripped away, every distraction removed, so that when the true word came, you'd recognize it instantly. And this is where destiny deepens, because when you learn to hear clearly, you learn to walk accurately. The voice of God doesn't just inspire, it directs. His words are maps, not poems. They carry instruction disguised as revelation. So as he speaks, don't just listen for comfort, listen for commission. Every sentence he whispers has an action attached. Every promise has a pathway. Remember, God speaks in seasons. He spoke to Noah, through warning to Abraham, through promise to Moses, through fire to Elijah, through whisper. And now he's speaking to you through recognition. The message isn't always new. Sometimes it's reminding you of what he already said. The silence often serves to echo his earlier words until you realize they still stand. This is the rhythm of divine communication, revelation, silence, confirmation. You've been through the silence. Now comes revelation. But don't miss the next step, confirmation. The words you're hearing now will be affirmed through signs, through peace, through alignment. When God speaks, the natural world responds. Watch how doors open without effort, how burdens lift. Without explanation, how favor appears in places you were once rejected. These are not coincidences, they're the language of affirmation. You are stepping into a prophetic phase of your journey where everything has meaning. The smallest details, the time you wake, the words someone casually says, the repetition of a symbol, are no longer random. Heaven is communicating in layers, and you are being entrusted with discernment to interpret them. This is spiritual maturity. But with deeper understanding comes deeper responsibility. To hear clearly is to walk carefully. You can no longer afford to make decisions based on emotion. Every step must be filtered through the Word. This is how the chosen operate, not by impulse, but by instruction. You are no longer reacting to life. You are responding to direction. In this new clarity, you will also notice that your old self can't survive. The silence buried your impatience, your doubt, your dependence on approval. God's voice will now resurrect only what aligns with destiny. You are being reborn in revelation, a quieter, wiser, more powerful version of yourself. So as you move forward, understand what's unfolding is not random revival. It's resurrection by revelation. The Word has returned to your life not to entertain, but to empower. You are entering a dimension where your prayers will align with divine timing, where your decisions will echo heaven's will, and where your steps will leave imprints of obedience. The silence was the cocoon. This is the emergence. You are no longer hidden in waiting. You are visible in wisdom. And from this point forward, every sound, every sign, every whisper will carry the weight of purpose. You are not merely hearing God. You are walking in sync with Him. Now that heaven's voice has been released, signs will begin to follow, not as random events, but as confirmations of what your spirit already knows. They will not come to convince you. They will come to remind you. God never speaks without sending evidence, and those who have waited through silence will now see His fingerprints in everything around them. These signs may not appear with thunder or spectacle. Often they'll emerge quietly, subtle shifts that speak louder than words. You'll begin to notice patterns forming, timing, aligning doors opening in precise synchrony with your prayers. This is how heaven confirms its word, through divine symmetry that no human hand could orchestrate. The first sign is an unshakable peace that arrives even before the outcome. Where anxiety once gripped your heart, peace will now reign without explanation. You will look at situations that should have broken you, and instead you'll feel a calm certainty, as though heaven has already resolved what you were worrying about. That peace is not random. It's prophetic. It's the echo of God saying, "It's already done." The second sign is sacred repetition. Numbers, words, or themes will begin to repeat themselves across your days, the same scripture appearing in multiple places. The same message resurfacing through different voices, the same song playing at unexpected moments. This is not coincidence. It's coordination. God uses repetition as a divine highlighter to ensure you don't miss his emphasis. Pay attention to what keeps finding you. It's pointing to where he's leading you. The third sign is divine interruption. Plans will shift, people will leave, or opportunities will close suddenly. Don't panic when things that once felt secure begin to change. The same God who speaks also redirects. What feels like loss is often divine protection from paths that no longer fit your future. These interruptions are sacred course corrections. They don't block you. They bless you. The fourth sign is acceleration. Delays that lingered for years will suddenly move with supernatural speed. Emails return, phone calls come through, resources align. It will seem as if heaven pressed fast forward on your timeline. This is confirmation that divine timing has caught up with divine promise. You're no longer in waiting. You're in unfolding. The fifth sign is resonance. When the right word, person, or opportunity comes, it won't just sound good, it will vibrate in your spirit. You'll feel a knowing deep and quiet that says, "This is it." God speaks through peace, but he confirms through resonance, that deep inner agreement between spirit and truth. And finally, the sixth sign is recognition. People who once overlooked you will suddenly see your value. Doors that rejected you will reopen. Even your enemies will acknowledge the hand of God upon your life. This isn't about ego, it's about evidence. Heaven is validating what was once hidden. When you begin to witness these signs, remember, don't chase them. Simply acknowledge them. They are not the destination, they're the road markers confirming you're on the right path. The voice that broke the silence is still guiding you, not in mystery, but in movement. Every confirmation is a whisper of continuity, proof that what began in the unseen is now taking form in the visible. The silence is over, and heaven is making sure you don't mistake the sound of your new season. But hear this truth in love: every divine revelation attracts resistance. When God's voice becomes clear, the enemy's noise intensifies. The moment heaven opens, hell reacts. That is why even in this season of clarity, you must remain anchored, because not every challenge that appears now is a setback. Some are divine filters, testing your discernment, refining your faith. After long silence, when God finally speaks, the greatest temptation is to move too quickly. You'll feel excitement, urgency, even holy fire, but discernment must walk beside zeal. The enemy can't steal the voice of God, but he'll try to distort it with impatience, fear, or pride. You must remember that clarity without character can still lead to confusion. The word you've received is precious, protected. Hidden challenge number 1. Distraction disguised as opportunity. Not everything that opens in this season is meant for you. Some doors exist only to test whether you'll recognize the right one. You will notice offers, invitations, or relationships that seem promising, but feel spiritually off. Pay attention to that inner pause. The voice that now guides you will also guard you if you listen. Hidden challenge number 2. Doubt returning in whispers. After silence breaks, the enemy often attacks your memory. He'll try to convince you that what you heard wasn't real, that you imagined the shift. He wants you to question the legitimacy of your revelation. Don't argue with darkness, anchor in light. When God speaks, his word sustains itself. You don't have to defend what heaven has already confirmed. Hidden challenge number 3. Isolation that feels unfair. As divine instruction begins to separate you from certain people, it may hurt. Some relationships won't understand your clarity. Others will misread your obedience as pride or distance. Remember, alignment always requires adjustment. You can't carry everyone into your next dimension. Some were only meant to be part of your wilderness, not your awakening. Hidden challenge number 4. Fatigue from warfare. As your spiritual sensitivity increases, you'll feel both revelation and resistance more acutely. It may feel as though pressure rises each time breakthrough approaches. But this is the paradox of divine progress. The closer you are to promise, the louder the opposition becomes. Don't let pressure make you question purpose. It's confirmation that you're advancing. Hidden challenge number 5. Silence returning in intervals. Even now, after breakthrough, there will be moments when God pauses again. Not to punish you, but to mature you. His voice will not always fill the room sometimes. He'll let peace be his answer. When that happens, don't panic. Once you've learned to hear him, absence no longer feels like abandonment. It feels like trust. Through these challenges, you are not alone. The same God who ended your silence will guide you through your stretching. What you're feeling is not failure, it's formation. The word you received is alive, and like any seed, it must push through resistance before breaking the surface. So take courage. When obstacles arise, don't assume something went wrong. It's proof that something has begun. You're walking in revelation, and revelation always reshapes reality. The pressure you feel is the promise being born. Now that you understand the meaning of the silence and the power of the voice that has broken it, you must know what to do with what has been spoken. Every revelation carries a responsibility. Every word from God demands a response. And in this season, obedience will not be optional. It will be the key that unlocks everything. Heaven is not merely speaking to comfort you. It is commissioning you. This is a divine assignment. The words you have received are instructions for alignment to position your life so that destiny can manifest without hindrance. The time of hesitation is over. You are being called to move with precision. Instruction. 1. Guard the word. What God has spoken to you is sacred. Don't rush to explain it to everyone. Some won't understand. Others may attempt to discourage or distort it. Protect your revelation the way a gardener shields a seed. Keep it hidden until it takes root. Jesus himself often withdrew after miracles to pray not to boast, but to preserve power. Silence may have ended, but wisdom must begin. Not every voice around you deserves access to what heaven entrusted to you. Instruction 2. Anchor in the Word of God. Prophetic clarity must always align with written truth. Open your Bible not as routine but as confirmation. The same Spirit who speaks through revelation also breathes through Scripture. When the two agree, you can stand unshaken. This is how you test the voice. It will never contradict His Word. Read daily, not for information, but transformation. The more His truth fills you, the less room there is for confusion. Instruction 3. Move when peace leads, not pressure. The world will try to rush you into decisions, but divine timing is recognized by peace. Never panic. When something is from God, it may stretch your faith, but it won't fracture your spirit. Don't confuse urgency with obedience. Some doors require waiting until your heart is steady. Heaven will never hurry you beyond your readiness. Instruction 4. Speak only what He gives. Your voice now carries weight. Heaven's silence ended so that your words could echo divine truth, not human reaction. Speak life intentionally. Bless those who curse you. Pray before you post. Declare only what aligns with destiny. Words are weapons. Wield them with grace. The more disciplined your speech becomes, the clearer your discernment will grow. Instruction 5. Stay sensitive. Revelation doesn't end when the message does, it evolves. God will keep confirming and clarifying as you move. Maintain a posture of listening. Keep your spirit uncluttered by bitterness, distraction, or noise. Sensitivity is your superpower. When you sense a shift, pause. When peace withdraws, pray. The same God who spoke loudly can whisper gently. Be fluent in both languages. Instruction 6. Build an altar of consistency. This means prayer, worship, and gratitude must become rhythm, not reaction. Don't only seek God in crisis. Meet Him in consistency. Morning devotion, worship without motive, praise without request. These sustain revelation. The silence once taught you to endure. Now the voice calls you to abide. This is how you stay aligned when the world pulls in every direction. Instruction 7. Forgive quickly, bless freely. The next level of clarity requires a light heart. Unforgiveness clouds perception. Bitterness muffles divine sound. When God speaks clearly, offense becomes static in the signal. Release those who hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because you refuse to carry anything that dulls your discernment. Your clarity is too valuable to be choked by resentment. Instruction 8. Step boldly. Clarity means nothing without courage. Heaven has ended your silence not for observation, but for movement. Take the step you've been delaying, the one your heart knows is right. It may feel uncomfortable, but obedience often does. God has gone before you. What once seemed impossible will now respond to your faith. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Move in perfect trust. And finally, Instruction 9. Record everything. Write down the dreams, the verses, the moments of confirmation. Create a history of faith. When doubt tries to whisper again, you'll have evidence of divine communication. Your journal will become your testimony, a written altar of God's consistency through every season. Remember this: when heaven breaks silence, it expects stewardship. Revelation is a seed. Obedience is the soil. How you respond now determines what grows next. So take these divine instructions not as burdens, but as blessings. Each one carries a layer of protection, a measure of direction, and a portion of promise. If you follow them, you will not wander. You will walk in rhythm with the voice that called you. The same God who spoke light into darkness is speaking destiny into you. Now it's your turn to echo Him, not just in words, but in the way you live. As you begin to walk in these divine instructions, remember, revelation does not remove warfare, but it guarantees victory. You are not stepping into an easy season. You are stepping into a covered one. Heaven does not speak without surrounding what it speaks with protection. Every word God releases is guarded by His presence, and every soul that carries that word is shielded by His hand. There is a divine hedge around you now, unseen but unbreakable. What once reached you easily will no longer touch you. The same silence that once felt like abandonment was actually construction. God was building a wall of fire around your spirit. Every arrow meant to wound you now ricochets off divine armor. The attacks that used to overwhelm you will lose their power because your sensitivity has become your shield. Understand this: when you walk in revelation, you walk in covering. Heaven assigns angels to accompany obedience. These are not poetic symbols, they are active guardians. You've already felt their presence in moments when you should have fallen, but somehow stood when you should have lost your mind. But peace held you steady. That wasn't coincidence, that was covenant. And this covenant carries assurance. God does not speak a word He won't defend. The prophecy you're carrying is protected by the same authority that spoke creation into existence. Every plot of the enemy, every whisper of fear, every attempt to derail you will collapse under divine authority. You don't have to fight every battle. Some are being handled in realms you can't see. You'll notice, too, that people who once drained you will start to fade away. It's not rejection, it's redirection. God removes distractions as part of His protection. Some departures are answers to prayers you didn't realize you prayed. Don't chase what He's clearing. Let His pruning prove His protection. In this season, your greatest weapon is peace. When you refuse to panic, the enemy loses leverage. Chaos cannot penetrate calm that's anchored in trust. The storms may still rise, but your peace will outlast them. The one who speaks with God walks in a stillness that confuses darkness. Heaven's assurance to you is this: you are not walking alone. There are times you will sense divine presence, tangibly warmth, stillness, a quiet knowing. Other times it will be invisible, but undeniable, like breath you cannot see but feel with every inhale. Whether you perceive it or not, the same God who broke the silence walks beside you in the sound. If fear tries to return, remember what he has already spoken. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. That promise isn't poetic. It's legal. Heaven has already issued the decree. You are protected not because you are perfect, but because you are positioned under purpose. So rest your heart. You are encircled by presence, insulated by peace, and guarded by grace. Nothing can reach you that God hasn't already redeemed. You endured the silence, survived the refining, and emerged ready to hear clearly. Now, as you walk forward in this new clarity, know this: His voice doesn't just guide you, it guards you. You are safe in the sound of His word. When God breaks silence, transformation follows. You cannot encounter divine clarity and remain unchanged. The same way dawn transforms the horizon after a long night, His voice transforms your spirit after a long silence. You may not notice it all at once. It begins subtly, like light creeping under a closed door. But soon everything in you begins to shift. The first sign of this transformation is inner renewal. You will sense an unexplainable lightness in your spirit. The heaviness that used to cling to your thoughts will begin to lift. Old fears lose their hold. Past disappointments lose their sting. It's not that the memories vanish, it's that their power over you dissolves. You've been rewired from the inside out. The same silence that once broke you has now built you. Then comes external alignment. The things around you start mirroring the work God did within you. Opportunities that once ignored you now search for you. People begin to see the light in your eyes, though they can't explain it. The same rooms that once rejected you now make room for you. You've shifted dimensions. You're no longer chasing, you're attracting. That's what divine alignment looks like, heaven and earth cooperating for your good. Next is restoration. What was lost in the silence returns, but not as it was better purified, multiplied. Relationships healed, joy reborn, finances redeemed, peace restored. But here's the truth. God doesn't just give back what was stolen. He upgrades it. The enemy's attack became heaven's investment. You endured loss, but now you will harvest increase. Every tear watered a future blessing, and the soil of your pain is now fertile with purpose. Then comes elevation. You will feel yourself rising, not in pride, but in purpose. Doors that were too high for you before are now reachable. God is lifting you not to boast, but to bless. He's positioning you where your story can speak to others who are still in their silence. You've become a living testimony that waiting was never wasted. But perhaps the most beautiful transformation of all is intimacy. You will find yourself drawn to God, not out of fear, but out of friendship. His voice will no longer sound foreign, it will sound familiar. You'll begin to talk with Him in the rhythm of daily life, hearing Him in nature, in music, in moments of stillness. The same presence that once felt distant now feels constant. This is the fulfillment, not just the blessing, but the bond. You'll realize too that what God gave you in this journey is more than revelation. It's identity. You now understand who you are, whose you are, and why you were chosen. The confusion that once defined you is gone. You no longer walk as a seeker, but as one who has heard. You are walking in alignment with destiny, clothed in discernment, equipped with understanding. And as transformation unfolds, gratitude becomes your new language. will thank him not only for what he's given, but for what he withheld, because now you understand that the silence saved you. What once felt like delay was actually deliverance. What once felt like absence was protection in disguise. Now you can say with confidence, the silence was never a punishment. It was the preparation for fulfillment. You have moved from waiting to walking, from confusion to clarity, from silence to song. And as this chapter of your life opens, heaven's declaration over you is simple yet powerful. Well done. You endured the silence. Now carry the sound. You are stepping into the manifestation of what was once whispered. You are living proof that when God speaks, life changes. The silence refined you. The sound has redefined you. Pause for a moment and breathe in this truth. You made it through the silence. What once felt like an endless waiting room has become sacred ground beneath your feet. The God who once seemed quiet has proven that he was never absent. His silence was your shaping, his voice your unveiling. And now you stand in clarity, covered by peace, ready to walk in purpose. Let these final words anchor you, not just today, but every day. The world tries to make you forget what heaven declared. Affirmation 1. I am divinely guided. No confusion can survive where God's voice leads. Every step I take is ordered. Every moment is sacred. I walk not by sight but by sound, the sound of divine instruction flowing through my life. Affirmation 2. I am protected and chosen. What surrounds me is stronger than what opposes me. Angels walk with me, grace goes before me, and favor follows behind me. I do not fear the unknown, for the voice that speaks over me also shields me. Affirmation 3. I am being transformed for purpose. Every trial was training. Every delay was development. The silence was not my ending. It was my preparation. I am stepping into fulfillment with strength, wisdom, and clarity. Affirmation 4. I carry the sound of heaven. My words will build, not break. My actions will echo divine truth. I speak peace into chaos and light into darkness. Through me, God's presence will be felt. Through my story, others will believe again. Now receive this blessing not as mere words, but as a seal over your spirit. May the God who spoke galaxies into existence speak fresh life into every dry place within you. May his light illuminate every path, exposing confusion and revealing clarity. May his peace guard your heart from fear and keep your mind from wandering. May his angels stand at every corner of your journey, turning away what was never meant for you and ushering in what always was. May your ears remain open, your spirit remain tender, and your faith remain unshakable. And may you from this day forward walk as one who knows the sound of heaven, steady, radiant, and unstoppable. The silence is over. The word has been spoken. The promise is alive. And you are ready. Go forward in faith, in focus, and in fire, for the same God who once whispered your name in secret now declares it boldly before heaven and earth. You were never forgotten. You were chosen to hear clearly. Amen.